The Resonator, who wields a giant pair of scissors as her weapon, is finally here with the Wuthering Waves 2.8 update, and if you've been looking for a guide for Chisa, I got you. She's another hybrid unit that deals damage on top of healing allies, plus she focuses on the negative status effects. Not only can she utilize the new Havoc Bane debuff, which is a stackable defense ignore effect, she can also increase the stacks of those negative statuses by 3. I'm going to be covering everything you need to know, down to your upgrade materials, what skills to prioritize upgrading first, a damage rotation, on top of your weapon options, what echoes and stats you want to look for, best teams, and more. We have a lot to cover, so let's not waste any time and dive right into it. For her combat role, she falls under support and healer, with dealing higher resonance liberation damage and utilizing the new Havoc Bane effect. And here are all the materials to upgrade her to max level. For the polygon core material, it can drop from construct or vehicle type echoes, something like the Auto Puppet Scout or the Lumiscale construct, and also includes the variety prism echoes. For the flower, we're looking for the summer flower, and it can be found in the new area around the map. Already collected them all, but if you use collection spots, you can easily find it, or it can be purchased at the KU Money Shop in the Black Shores. And for Overlord boss material, you're gonna have to fight Lady of the Sea in Septimont for the Abyssal Husk, and again, you need 46 of these. For what skills prioritize upgrading first on Chisa, definitely your Forte, Circuit, and Liberation. These are going to be your two main damage sources. After that, you could do normal attack and resonance skill, and then lastly, intro skill. And here are all the materials you're going to need to upgrade all of these skills. Since she's a Broadblade character, you're going to need the Wave-Worn Residue material, which can be found doing forgery challenges. I would specifically do the one in the 2.0 area, Garden of Adoration, because you can also get the Polygon Core material to drop. And for your weekly Calamity boss, you're going to have to face Fleur-de-Lis in Venalium for the When Iris' Blue material, and you need 26 of these. To maximize Chisa's damage on top of her support capabilities, we need to understand exactly how her kit works. First up, her Forte bar has two parts, the main one being Ring of Chainsaw. You build up the Forte by using your normal attacks, your resonance skill, your resonance liberation almost gives half, and your intro skill. The second part of her Forte bar is Lifethread Jetstream, and you essentially can gain it over time when you defeat a target or when you exit her chainsaw mode, which is her enhanced attacks, and I will talk about that here in a minute. The main thing to note with the basic attack combo is that as long as you're on the ground and you press your basic attack button, you'll end up performing an attack called Death Snip. It's a very noticeable attack where she opens and closes her scissors on the target, and even though all those attacks deal havoc damage, the main thing with Death Snip is that it's considered resonance liberation damage and restores HP for the entire team. And if you keep attacking afterwards, you can perform what's called Thread Withdrawn, which can basically auto-trigger a successful dodge. The main thing with the regular heavy attack is that you get put in midair, and then you can follow up into what's called Hanging Finality, which then follows up into that Death Snip attack. But while you're midair, you have three options. You can automatically just press your normal attack and follow up into Hanging Finality. You can hold that heavy attack again to perform what's called Severed Facet, or you can perform a midair dodge called Lifethread Glide. This is where the Lifethread Jetstream part of her Forte comes into play. The easiest way to know when you can use this is when you see that Lifethread Jetstream color go from its beige color to blue. Now there's a few different ways you can cast this skill when you're dodging in midair with the heavy or the resonance skill attack, dodging forward after using that Thread of Withdrawn attack, dodging when you're launched into midair, and you can cast it back to back. Also, as a side note, she has an enhanced dodge counter, so as long as you hold your dodge button after that successful dodge, you can perform Eye of Unraveling Retraction, which stagnates the targets and deals havoc damage. Speaking of stagnating targets, we can talk about her regular resonance skill, Eye of Unraveling. You can perform this attack on ground and mid-air and do all the previous combinations that I mentioned leading into the Death Snip attack. Now coming back to her Forte bar, once Ring of Chainsaw is full from using those normal attacks, resonance skill, and your resonance liberation, which I will talk about here in a minute, you'll gain access to the enhanced resonance skill, Serrated Loop. Using the skill will stagnate targets, pull them towards Chisa, and she'll enter what's called Chainsaw mode. Also take note that you can actually hold this resonance skill and continue damaging targets while pulling them in. As you can see, the amount of flavor text for her Chainsaw mode is quite ridiculous, but I'm going to simplify it for you. You can either tap or hold your normal attack button to perform these chainsaw attacks, and they're all considered resonance liberation damage. After the chainsaw mode's third attack, you'll actually perform a finishing move. This finisher is the attack that grants shields to the entire team for 30 seconds. And take note that every point of Ring of Chainsaw consumed actually goes into the damage multiplier toward that finishing move, so the more you consume, the more damage the final hit will do. You'll also notice that the Lifethread Jetstream portion of her Forte bar changes to red. This is Chainsaw Fever. Essentially, if you don't attack targets while you're in Chainsaw mode, she'll wind down, so as long as you're hitting targets and consuming Ring of Chainsaw, you can keep up the damage multiplier and the enhanced attacks. Now, coming over to her Resonance Liberation, you actually want to use this attack before going into those chainsaw mode attacks. Again, she'll deal damage with it and recover HP for the entire team, but the main thing is that the skill gives Chisa what's called Woven Myriad Convergence for 15 seconds. This adds a 120% damage multiplier for those chainsaw mode attacks and can also increase the finishing move of the chainsaw mode by an extra 120% depending on how much Ring of Chainsaw is consumed. If you thought all that was crazy, we still have one more thing to cover with her kit, and that is Unseen Snare. She can inflict it on a target for 30 seconds, either using her Resonance skill, the Enhanced Resonance skill, using the Enhanced Dodge counter, or just locking onto a target. As long as the target has that triangle symbol on them, that's how you know they are inflicted with Unseen Snare. If it's marked with it and takes direct damage from Resonators, she inflicts one stack of Havoc Bane on them. This effect can be triggered up to once every 2 seconds. While Havoc Bane lasts, it reduces the target's defense by 2% and can stack up to 3 times, so that's a 6% defense ignore just by having this debuff on him. On top of that, she also has an effect called Thread of Bane, so when you deal damage to targets affected by Unseen Snare, you can also ignore an extra 18% of their defense. I also do want to take note of her inherent skills, the first one being Inescapable Fate. When a Resonator in the team defeats a target marked by Unseen Snare, the cooldown of her Resonance skill is reset, which can trigger once every 3 seconds. And her second inherent skill all ends here. When you cast her intro skill or Resonance Liberation, it gives a 20% Havoc damage bonus and healing bonus for 12 seconds. When Resonators in the team with Thread of Bane defeat a target marked by Unseen Snare, Chisa gains Sight of Unraveling lasting 3 seconds. During this, Chisa inflicts Unseen Snare that lasts for 30 seconds on targets damaged by Resonators in the team with Thread of Bane. If you're thinking to yourself, how can I keep up those Havoc Bane stacks when she's not on the field? That's where her outro skill, Unraveling Law 0, comes into play. She'll give the entire team what's called Resonant Thread of Closure for 20 seconds, so when an attack hits, it increases the max stacks of those negative statuses by 3 for 15 seconds. And whenever you inflict a negative status or deal negative status damage, it will grant Thread of Bane for 15 seconds. So this means as long as you initially defeat a target that's affected by Unseen Snare, Chisa can pass on those debuffs regardless if she's on the field or not. And the last thing I'll talk about are her stat column bonuses, which are crit rate percentage and attack percentage. I know her kit has an insane amount of information, so let me break it down into a simple damage rotation. First up, whether she's already out on the field or you proc her intro skill, I would just pop your echo skill and get that out of the way. Next, you can perform any of her regular attack combos or her Resonance skill attack as well. Whether you use the heavy attack for the midair glide is really up to you. I personally would just do the basic attack combination into Death Snip and make sure Ring of Chainsaw is over halfway full. After that, we want to use her Resonance Liberation. This will deal damage, this will heal the entire team, this will give you 40 out of the 100 points you need for Ring of Chainsaw to then proc the Enhanced Resonance skill. On top of that, this gives the damage multiplier buff for those Chainsaw mode attacks. That's why you want to use the Resonance Liberation before the Enhanced Resonance skill. After the Resonance Liberation and once Ring of Chainsaw is full, go ahead and use that Enhanced Resonance skill, and then you can follow up with those normal chainsaw mode attacks until your Forte is depleted. Again, you can either tap or hold depending on how long you want those attacks to last. And again, the finishing move will completely deplete the bar no matter what and give the shield for the entire team. Once that's done, your Concerto bar should be full and you can perform her outro skill. In simple terms, use her intro and echo skill first. Use her normal attacks, preferably just the basic attack, to fill up Ring of Chainsaw more than halfway. Use her Resonance Liberation, the Enhanced Resonance skill, the Chainsaw mode attacks until your Forte is depleted, then outro skill. All the debuffs like Unseen Snare, Havoc Bane, and Thread of Bane will automatically be passed when you use her outro skill. You don't have to worry about any of those things. For Chisa's best weapons, I would recommend her signature Broadblade, Kumokiri. You get a flat attack, a big crit rate percentage increase, and with this perk Thread of Fate, note this is at rank 1, you get a 12% attack increase. When the wielder casts an intro skill or inflicts a negative status, they gain an 8% Resonance Liberation bonus, stacking up to 3 times, and at max stacks, when Resonators in the team inflict a negative status, they gain a 24% all attribute damage bonus for 15 seconds. This is obviously catered more toward the negative status effect characters like Phoebe, Cardathea, and others, but take note that with her inherent skills and outro skill, that pretty much any Resonator can inflict that Havoc Bane negative status, so this sword is pretty much universal for any team that you decide to use. For some other 5-star Broadblade options, you have Lupa's Signature, Wildfire Mark, and the standard Lustrous Razor, even though I don't necessarily recommend it. At least with Lupa's, you get the crit damage increase, and with its perk, you get the attack bonus. When you perform an intro skill or liberation, you do get the Resonance Liberation damage increase. For your 4-star Broadblades, the first Battle Pass one, Autumn Trace, is good. You get the crit rate percentage, and as long as you deal basic or heavy attack damage, you get an attack percentage stacking bonus. If you're looking for a free-to-play sword, you can actually craft this one, Meditations on Mercy. This is part of the set that came out in 2.0, so as long as you deal damage to enemies with negative statuses, you get an attack percentage increase. And the other two options would be Waning Redshift or Helios Cleaver. For Chisa's best echo sets, you have two options, the hybrid of damage and healing, or specifically focusing on healing. You could go with the original 5-piece Rejuvenating Glow, specifically focusing on healing, with Fallacy of No Return as your main echo, but I do recommend grinding out the new 3-piece echo set, Thread of Severed Fate, with either 2-piece Havoc Eclipse, Midnight Veil, or you could do 2-piece Rejuvenating Glow. I do recommend 2-piece Havoc Eclipse and Midnight Veil over 2-piece Rejuvenating Glow because it does give the 10% Havoc damage bonus, but the main reason you want 3-piece Thread of Severed Fate is because when you inflict Havoc Bane, it increases the Resonator's attack by 20% and grants a 30% Resonance Liberation damage bonus for 5 seconds. So you'll set this up with your 4-cost being the Leviathan Sword with either crit rate or crit damage. Your 2 3-cost should either be attack percentage or Havoc damage, and your 2 1-cost with attack percentage. The reason you want to use the Leviathan Echo is because when you summon it, it deals damage and gives you Core of Collapse for 15 seconds, which whenever the Resonator deals damage, it will also deal damage and will deal 100% more damage if the target is affected by Havoc Bane. But the main reason you want this Echo is because as long as it's in your main slot, you get a 12% Havoc damage and Resonance Liberation damage bonus. For our Echo substats, we're looking for crit rate and crit damage, energy regen, Resonance Liberation damage, and then any attack we can get. So for your overall stats, as you can see, mine aren't perfect, but as long as you're over 70 crit rate and 250 crit damage, you're in luck damage-wise. The more energy regen, the better. We want her ultimate more often than not so we can get the damage multiplier for her chainsaw skills. But the main thing is that, do you go for attack or Havoc damage bonus on your 3-cost echoes? If you go for attack percentage, you get better healing and shields, but if you do Havoc damage bonus, you get better damage output. The way I see it is that if I don't get hit, I don't have to heal as much, but again, I understand if you go for attack percentage, and if anyone has done any in-depth testing, definitely let me know in the comments, or if someone decided to go with 2 4-cost echoes and 3 1-cost and that worked out a little bit better, I'd definitely like to know that as well. I'll be testing that. For Chisa's best team options, at the moment, the Arrow Erosion team with her, Cardathea, and Chacona is really good. She can basically do everything that Arrow Rover can, but a little bit better. More consistent healing, shields, and the defense reduction with Havoc Bane. Plus, she increases all negative status stacks instead of just Arrow Erosion like Arrow Rover. Plus, that opens him up if you want to use Spectro or Havoc Rover on other teams. For the Spectro Frazzle teams, you can pair her up with main DPS Phoebe and Spectro Rover as your sub DPS, or you can pair her up with Zani and Phoebe as your sub DPS. Out of the two teams, apparently main DPS Phoebe benefits more, especially if you have Chisa's signature, which increases the all attribute damage from inflicting a negative status. People are saying Zani can't benefit from this because her Helical Embers don't count towards the effect, even though in her kit it says Helical Ember stacks are counted toward Spectro Frazzle stacks. I'm not sure if anyone's done any in-depth testing with this, but when I used it, she still felt extremely strong. And there's not really a lot of other teams she can work on at the moment. I did try pairing up Chacona with main DPS Phoebe as well in Whimpering Waves just to have the consistent Spectro Frazzle stack so Phoebe can deal more damage. But in regards to the negative statuses, she is kind of future-proof, so when we do get more characters that can inflict other status effect types, she can support those roles. The last thing I'll talk about is her Resonance Chain, and is it worth getting multiple copies of her? S1, walking through the Desolate Corridors, all of her Chainsaw mode attacks are immune to interruption, and when she inflicts Unseen Snare, she gets a 30% attack increase and can deal a fixed amount of Havoc damage to a target. S2, into the Web of Endless Bond, she ignores 10% of the target's Havoc res, and nearby Resonators in the team with Thread of Bane get a 50% all attribute damage bonus. S3, across the confusion of the Long Night, essentially all of her Chainsaw mode attacks gain increased damage multipliers on top of what they already get, and the vibration strength reduction of those attacks is increased by 50%, which means you can shred that shield. S4, severing the endless cycle of Tragic Fate essentially allows for even more Havoc Bane stacks faster. S5, thousands of lights to guide the way home. Her Resonance Liberation gets a 100% damage bonus, and that mid-air dodge with Lifethread Glide costs 50% less. And lastly, S6, thus, Hope is rekindled with the Rising Dawn. As long as she's using her Chainsaw mode attacks, if she takes a fatal blow, she'll remain at 1 HP. And her Unseen Snare gets upgraded to Unseen Snare Finality. It gains all the previous effects, and targets affected by it now take an additional 30% amplified damage from negative statuses, and targets affected by it take 40% increased damage from Chisa. Overall, S2 is your best stopping point if you're a spender. S3 if you really want to make her a main DPS, and really only go to S6 if you want her to be the main character of the next Chainsaw Massacre movie, because the amount of damage she'll put out is actually insane. The main reason getting up to S2 is important is because with S1, having the immunity with the chainsaw attacks is great, and the increased attack and fixed damage is nice. But the main thing with S2 is giving the entire team an extra 50% all attribute damage bonus is going to just help out the overall damage. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Chisa build guide and kit breakdown. Let me know what you guys think of Chisa in the comments. Personally, I didn't think that she was going to be this universal, especially in regards to the negative statuses. I'm actually looking forward to Buling when she comes out because she'll be able to perform Electro Rage, and obviously future Resonators are going to be able to perform other negative statuses, so I'm excited to see how future-proof she really is. Let me know in the comments how your Chisa pulls are going. I got really lucky. 0 pity 10 pull, got Chisa. 20 pulls later, we got S1. I'm highly debating on going for S2 now. Or are you using your pulls on Phoebe right now, since we just had Zani last banner and now we have her outfit as well? Or are you saving them for the second half of this update where we're getting Frolova and the Cantarella rerun, who in my opinion are really good free-to-play units, and also Buling having a higher drop chance? In any event, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on any other Wuthering Waves content we have coming out here on the channel. If you didn't know, we live stream here on YouTube and then also over on Twitch. That link will be in the description. I typically stream Wuthering Waves whenever we have a new update, there's a new event, or a new banner is out, and usually there's always drops available as well, so if you want some extra materials, be sure to tune on into the stream. Also, if you want to join my community, hop in my Discord. That link will also be in the description. We have plenty of people talking about Wuthering Waves, other gacha games, and then plenty of other topics including gaming, tech, and anime. Lastly, if you want to help support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. Now, if you don't know what a membership is, it's essentially like a Twitch subscription, but it's technically cheaper. You're going to gain access to exclusive emotes, monthly badges, and the main benefit, which is getting access to all of my long form videos early. So if you would like some more information, all you have to do is press the join button next subscribe, and I'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next video.